Hey, happy what is it? Wednesday. I always go through that trying to remember what days it is. For those of you who are on, please get the likes up, tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. I'm going to try to keep this rather brief because I do have some errands to run, actually, believe it or not. Um, but we are going to talk a little bit about just modern women in general and just the birth rate and what we are seeing. So, again, I want to give a special shout out to those who have recently joined the channel or become a channel member. Also, if you would like to show support to the show, you can find me on Cash App or Venmo, ChezCharde. Um, okay. So, so basically, make a long story short, there's a lot more information coming out that is showing that less people in general are wanting to have kids. Birth rate was already pretty low even before the pandemic, and then obviously once the pandemic happened, um, once that happened, then it's just things kind of skyrocketed. And so I wanted to talk about this because I will say I've noticed this in my own life where more and more modern women who are maybe choosing careers, choosing to do their own thing, choosing jobs, choosing vacations, whatever, they're putting off having kids, and that seems to be becoming less of a priority. And I've heard this expressed personally, friends that I have, people that I know. But like I said, now there's actually research out there that is showing that yes, by and large, people are actually starting to just say, I just don't want kids. I just don't want kids. And so we're going to talk about it. Um, Hey, thank you for joining. Again, also a special shout out to Boycott Activision for becoming a new member. For those of you who don't know, I am actively right now, we're running a campaign for Black Men Built That. Again, the purpose of that is to start to create content that specifically highlights the different accomplishments and the different ways that the Black men have built society in general. Again, one of my reasons for this is because there's a lot of negativity in the Black community. There's a lot of negative self-dialogue, and there's a lot of, I just think, just a lot of tension between men and women in general. And my desire is to also promote some of the positive stories, to promote some of the positive things, so that we can have a fuller perspective of what is actually going on. There are many of issues that happen within the Black community from Black men and Black women, and there are also many beautiful things, and the beautiful things don't get enough exposure. So again, those of you who signed up, I know you are really, really active about wanting to support that. If you are new to this channel, or if you are interested in seeing more content that focuses on some of the accomplishments, we're talking engineering, technology, building, science, math, things that have happened in the past and are happening today, if you want to see that message get out there, if you want to see videos that highlight it, that promote it, sign up to become a channel member. We're running a campaign until the end of January. The goal is to get at least 300 members, and that'll give us enough support to be able to start to turn it into a video campaign and hopefully start to promote some good messages. So that is my that is my little pitch there. I see modern woman is a euphemism for feminism. Okay. Girl, your hair is proper. Shout out for all the love. So again, for those of you who are on, please get those likes up. Get those likes up. So like I said, I wanted to cover this off because it is becoming more and more apparent that people just aren't wanting to have kids. And modern women in general are finding kids to be less of a necessity in order to live a fulfilled life or just life in general. And so, the reason I highlighted Vivica Fox is there was a video that came up recently where she expressed that, at 57, she doesn't have kids. And, she feels like she didn't birth kids, but she has godchildren. And that to her is enough. She's had a pretty fulfilling career. She's been successful in her own right. And I want to bring it up because, I think instead of me expressing it, it's going to be best for you to just hear it directly from her. And I think what she says really gives, it really gives a snapshot, I think, and just to modern women in general and the different ideologies or just the different things that we are doing. And so I'm going to pull this up so you can actually see what it is I'm referring to. Okay, if I can find that video. just had it. Let me see. Oh, I did it. I'm like, did it just come down? I literally just had it. I wonder if I took it down. Okay, guys. I had this video I was going to share, and now it's looking like it wants to be a little trifling. Let me try this one more again. That's interesting. Let me see. Where did it go? Interesting. It's funny how that works. One something will be up one moment and then you go back and it's removed. Okay, y'all, bear with me. I literally had it right here and then now it's trying to act like it doesn't want to exist. Strange things happening. But anyways, while I'm waiting, what do you think? What do you think? Like, why do you think more women are starting to choose careers and are just not even seeing interest in marriage? And here's the thing about it, cool thing about it, it's not just women, it's women and men. And we're going to go a little bit more into that in some different studies that have come out. Pew researchers did a study that kind of went into that. But while we are waiting to see if I can find that video, let me know in the comment section, what do you think? Why are men and women putting off childhood? I see love and beautiful black hair and natural look. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Said I'm feeling your vibes, Shay. Again, shout out. Um, okay, I hate when that happens, y'all. I literally hate when I have everything all prepared, then I get on here and then it wants to act funky. And if I can't find it, then I will just have to count my losses. When I have everything. And okay, let's see. Let's see if it's gonna let me. Yeah, you know what? They may have actually taken it down. Like they legitimately may have taken it down. And that's okay. If that's the case, I may just have to do without it. Let's see. Fox, no kid. Let me see. Doing one more thing. Okay, well, anyways, the video was literally there. I was about to play it, and now it's like it's not. I seen it on Instagram, y'all. It was pretty. I've shared it on my stories and everything. Which, by the way, if you guys are not following me on Instagram, I am there. You may want to follow me so that you can see other things. I do post different stuff on Instagram. So again, shameless plug. If you're in Instagram, feel free to follow me. But anyways, what she basically says in it, I'll try to sum it up because I listened to it a few times. What she basically says is like, look, I don't have no grandkids, or no grandkids. I don't have kids, and obviously she doesn't have grandkids because she never had kids. You know, but I still am. I love kids, and I'm still in that motherly role because I am a godmother. And she said I think she had 6 or 7 grandkids, and you know she loves it because she can kind of plan them in her schedule. She can take them out when she wants to, and then when she's done, she drops them off to the parents, whatever. Another thing that she said, though, that was interesting to me at the very end is she says, I chose career or children, but then really I didn't find the man that I wanted. I couldn't find the man that I could make kids with. That's essentially what she was saying. Again, I wish I could find the video. I don't know where it went. I think it got deleted. But essentially that's what she was saying. She's like, I couldn't find the man that was worth having kids with. Now, that's layered because my personal opinion is that anytime somebody says, oh, I couldn't find the man worth wearing, or I couldn't find a woman worth having kids with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't know that I always buy that, me personally, because there's plenty of people out there right now who are still having a lot of kids, still having situations. And I would think somebody of her caliber, where she was at, having access to all kinds of men, having access to probably the top of the top or high value. It's like, okay, is it that you couldn't find the men that you wanted to have kids with, or was it just maybe you were focused on your career, or you were focused on what you wanted to do, and then when time came for you to settle down, it was just some of those men were taken. I will say sometimes that's issues that modern women or those who focus on careers have, where it's like you focus on a certain amount of thing, which isn't, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But the downside of that is if you still want to have if you still want to have traditional results, if you still want to have marriage, if you still want to have those kids, it's like if you've done that the first 40, 45, 50 years, and then now you're ready to settle down, okay, now you put yourself in a more precarious situation. And then, as we know, whether or not you believe it, many women are hypergamous, right? By nature. I wholeheartedly believe that. I know there's some women who won't say that, but by nature, women don't want struggle love. Most women out here want a dude that's going to be established, going to be taken care of. Even if she has her own stuff, she's going to want a man that has at least the same amount of stuff, if not more. We've heard this time and time and time and time again. So again, somebody at her caliber, her level of exposure, her level of just success, then you wonder, okay, if you did prioritize career at a certain point, when you're ready to settle down, did you not find yourself in a situation where the men that you wanted were not available to you? And therefore, that is because you weren't able to have kids. Because, of course, best believe there are plenty of men out there who probably would have loved to lay down with her and would have had no issues with it. But whenever she decided in her life, maybe it was when she was in her 40s or late 40s or whatever, she decided, hey, I've done my thing in my career. I want to settle down and have kids. Was it now that she find herself in a situation where she had, in some ways, outworked herself, and the men that she wanted or that she would have desired either were not available, or maybe looking for someone younger, maybe looking for someone in a different situation. And at that point, she was like, look, I'm not willing to settle to this level just to have kids. I think that is a more accurate understanding versus just like, I just couldn't find any good men out there. And again, this is just speculation. I don't know. That was just one snippet. I didn't hear the whole interview. So maybe I'm taking things out of context. But I wanted to highlight that because I think what was said there actually, I think, speaks to a bigger issue that we see in the environment. Which is, women who do put their career, do focus on that, do prioritize that, then, there is a trade-off. There really is a trade-off. If you want to do that, okay. But we do have to know that while many of us are told there is no rush, don't worry about it, you know what I mean? Take your time. While we are told that nature does have, you know what I mean? Unless you believe in God and miracles and you're wanting a whole like a, I don't know, immaculate conception kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like by and large, majority of people actually have to stay within the constraints of nature. And nature does put a timeline on women. And so again, like I said, if you do choose to put off having kids, okay, but our window is a lot shorter than men. So for those who are on, please get those likes up, tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. We're talking a little bit about, birth rate, and just in general, what we are seeing, which is less and less men and women are choosing to have kids. I highlighted Vivica Fox because a video came out that I was not able to find. It looks like it was removed, but it came out where basically she was talking about how she felt like, although she decided to not have her own kids, that she still felt fulfilled as a godmother, granted. And then later on, she goes to say the reason she didn't have kids is because she could not find a man that she felt was worth having kids with, which again brings me to the question. As a woman, when you put off career, you go to a certain level of success. Is the issue you can't find anybody worth having kids with, or is really the issue that you can't find somebody that's on your level or somebody that meets your criteria worth having kids with? At a certain point, certain women just don't want to settle financially. If you're used to making, I don't know, $500,000 or something, and you get a guy who's making six figures, 100K, which is still great in many states, for you that might be settling. And I don't know her situation. I don't know exactly why, but it is genuinely understood that the more successful a woman becomes financially, educationally, the harder it is for her to actually win in the relationship space. And some of that is because by nature of who we are, women want to be taken care of, whether or not you know, some of us may not agree, but I think most women, right? Most, heterosexual women that still want strong traditional alpha males, they want to be taken care of. They want to feel secure. They want to feel like he has me. And again, if you are going and you've made a certain amount of money, and now you're making more money than your potential husband or whatever, can you even respect them? And there's some women out there who just simply cannot. A special shout out. Let's see. Yeah, a special shout out to Raw for the $5 on the super chat. I see responsibility sucks. People want to be selfish, can't be selfish if you have kids or a husband or wife to think about. Being single is a modern luxury. You hit the nail on the head. Being single is a modern luxury. One of the reasons I think so is because we have the system, the infrastructure, some of the modern conveniences, different things, different governmental programs, different assistance that kind of gives us women in particular the opportunity to do so. There are certain situations, there are certain countries where it's like, if you have a man, the struggle is real. And so having a man in a family is the only security that you will get. So, but while we live in a more modern or Western situation, and so to your point, singleness is a luxury. The idea that, okay, men can be subsidized from governmental assistance, different things like that in and of itself is a modern concept, is a luxury. Could not agree more. And then I see societal programming, going back to my earlier question, which is, why are women and men, but we're focusing on women because this is a femininity channel, why are many of them choosing to not have kids? We see societal programming. I see the cost of living is too great to not know the cost of living. And again, we're going to go into that a little bit in this Pew Research. I'm going to go over that data there. But that's what some people cited as cost of living being one reason that people aren't wanting to have kids, women in particular. I see it's too expensive. People are fighting to afford themselves, let alone a child. Bingo. Out here in the Bay Area, this was, I think, like 3 or 4 years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, before the pandemic, before inflation hit, if you made 6 figures, if you made $100,000 and had a 4-person household, you were considered low income, meaning you were struggling. A person making 6 figures, right? 4 people in the house, low income. Not just like, okay, you're modest, but you're making it. It's like, no, low income. You need assistance. You need rental assistance. You need food stamps. You need governmental assistance just to make it. That's out here in the Bay Area. So like I said, the struggle's real. I said worldwide power outage, worldwide boom. Again, thanks for the super chat. You said the sound effects, though. Y'all like the stream. Yes, again, for those of you who are on, please get those likes up. Tag anybody on this discussion who you think may find it interesting. We're talking about modern women like Vivica Fox who have chosen not to have kids. Why? And what does this mean? What does this actually mean if more and more of us choose not to have kids? You got on one end women talking about, promoting abortions, telling, abort black male babies. So we got that propaganda going on. You're telling other ones out there saying, oh, well, there's a lot of violence in the community. So the best way to avoid violence is just to even get, pregnant, not to have kids at all. So you got that going on. And then you have, just women right now who are choosing careers. They are choosing to do those kinds of different things and to not have kids, which again is an individual choice. But if so many of us decide to do that, what does it actually mean for the societal implications? If we stop having kids, people start, if enough people stop procreating, what does that mean? Let me know, y'all. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to bring this up. Pew Research goes into this a little bit more, and it actually, it just kind of breaks it down. It breaks it down. So let me share this with y'all since I was not able to find the other video. That was a bummer. Let's see. Okay. Actually, let me do this. This is acting funky on me. Alrighty. For those of you who are on again, thank you. And get those likes up. I'm pulling up the research from Pew. Okay, so it says, growing share of childless adults in U.S. don't expect to ever have children. This was published in a few different news publications, but I wanted to focus on Pew Research because they're the ones that actually released the publication. This happened like last month, so this is not November 19th, so this is not old. It's not even a month old. It says, birth rates in the US dropped during the COVID-19 pandemic amid the twin public health and economic crisis, lending evidence to predictions from early on in the outbreak that economic uncertainty might trigger a baby bust. This continued the downward trend in the US fertility rates, which were already at a record low before the pandemic began. So, again, as I said earlier, y'all, people weren't even having kids before the pandemic. So even before then, there was, some struggles about making, that there is going to be, enough really kids being made. And now, since the pandemic hit, it's gone even down even further. Says a new Pew Research Center survey finds that a rising share of U.S. adults who are not already parents say they are unlikely to ever have children. And the reasons range from just not wanting to have kids to concerns about climate change and the environment. So again, now we're in an era. There used to be a time where a woman who didn't have kids, it was like the bane of her existence. It was like she had no worth, no value whatsoever. Now we are seeing that children are becoming more and more of an option. Why is that? As we continue, it says, okay, so share of non-parents younger than 50 who say they are not likely to have children is up from 2018. So it looks like they did this back in 2018. And they say since then, the amount of parents or the amount of people who don't want to have kids has gone up since 2018. Okay. So some 44% of non-parents ages 18 to 49 say it is not to or not likely at all that they will have children someday. This has increased 7% basically since 2018. So the amount of people who don't want kids basically from the ages 18 to 49 has gone up 7% since 2018. So again, this number is rising. People are saying, nah, kids are not in my future. That number is rising. It says, meanwhile, 74% of adults younger than 50 who are already parents say they are unlikely to have more kids, virtually unchanged since 2018. So basically they're saying since 2018, people who already have kids are saying they don't want to have kids. That number stayed the same, but still, even among non-parents and parents, both of them are saying, yeah, either we don't want kids or we don't want to have any more kids. That number is interesting. Continuing on, let's see. Okay. It says among parents and non-parents alike, men and women are equally likely to say they will probably not have kids. So this is a shared sentiment among men and women. This to me, this is real quick. This to me is interesting because, like I said, there used to be a time where women, their value almost was in, for better for worse, was their kid, whether or not they could have kids. Especially like back in traditional eras, like that's what you did. You got married, you had kids, you built your home, you maintained your home, that's it. So now fast forward, we're in a modern era where you have women who went from, their value as a woman, their societal role, their expectation was to have kids and to maintain and to grow the next generation. Now it's like 180-degree turnaround to where they're seeing kids as optional. Both men and women have this perspective. Although traditionally the roles were totally different. So like I said, I found that incredibly interesting. Why do you guys think that is? Y'all let me know. Okay, moving back to the article. If it lets me do that. Where'd you go? Okay, wait, no, I don't like that view. Okay, so among parents and non-parents alike, men and women are equally likely to say they will probably not have kids in the future. Perhaps not surprisingly, adults in their 40s are far more likely than younger ones to say they are unlikely to have children or to have more children in the future. Some 85% of non-parents, 40 to 49, this compared with 37% of younger adults. So basically, the older ones are just like, now we definitely don't want kids. Okay, so the majority, 56% of non-parents younger than 50 who say it's unlikely they will have children someday say they just don't want to have kids. Again, that says a majority. 56% of non-parents younger than 50 who say it's unlikely they will have children someday say they just don't want to have kids. So basically they're saying the majority of people who who say they don't want to have kids say it's just because they simply don't want it. They simply don't want kids. That's why. It's not like, oh, well, I'm scared of the environment. I'm scared that, you know what I mean? It's getting crazy out there. It's getting more violent. The economy is changing. The politics. Nah. The majority of people who don't want to have kids, who say they don't want to have kids, say they simply don't want it. It's just not a desire. And like I'm saying, how did us women in particular, how do we go from a place to where the expectation on us socially, the way we even valued our level of success, all that was connected with being married and having kids, for better or for worse, right? It went from that to now being in a place where we are just saying, nah, we don't even want kids. Majority of us saying we don't want kids. It's like, what an 180-degree turnaround. When did that happen and how? Shout out to Danica for being in the building. Oh, I was about to do a hand clap and then I just lost it. But anyways, there you are. Hand clap. Proper introduction. But yeah, isn't that crazy? Like we go from valuing marriage, valuing raising up the next generation to now children are considered children are optional. And like I said, technically this is people's choice. Ain't nobody going to force somebody to have kids. But if now we got the majority of people saying we just don't want kids, or that number is rising, what does that actually mean, like moving forward? And why is that becoming so popular? I see, because the majority of us want to be kids. We want to be taken care of. Low key, I think that. I mean, the fact you got people out here talking about they don't want no struggle of, it's like, yo, like what aspect of life is not include struggle? Being an adult is like, that is a struggle. Like there's nothing in this life worth having that just comes just free. You know what I mean? It's like even if you think, okay, maintaining health, you got to work out. You know what I mean? You talk about, I don't know, like being an adult, you have to work. Having a relationship, even, you have to work. There is struggle, there's compromise. And like a lot of things in life that are worth having and maintaining and are worthwhile, they require struggle. So even this whole idea that like, hey, things should just happen easily and I shouldn't have to work for it, that is a mindset of a kid. To your earlier point, if many of us want to be kids, then maybe that's why we don't want to have them. Good point, because we want to be taking care of ourselves. But anyways, I continue on. Okay. So yeah, it says a majority, I said this again, 56% of non-parents younger than 50 who say it's unlikely they will have children. Some they say they just don't want to have kids. So again, people just like, yo, I don't want kids. Like, says childless adults younger than 40 are more likely to say this than those ages 40 to 49. So it's saying the young generations actually are the ones who are embracing this idea more and more that children are not really a necessity. They are not needed to have a happy life. And then again, it says there are no differences by gender. So this report is saying that there's not a big enough difference by gender. Really, men and women share the sentiment of just like, no, I just don't want kids. Like, it is what it is. Okay, it says among childless adults who say they have some other reason for thinking they won't have kids in the future, no single reason stands out. And by 2 in 10, 90% says it's due to medical reasons. 70% says it's for financial reasons. 15 say it's because they don't have a partner. Roughly 1 in 10 say their age or their partner's age or the state of the world is the reason they don't plan to have kids. An additional 5% cite environmental reasons. Really, the main reason basically what they're saying, the main reason people don't want to have kids is simply because they don't want to have them. And then those who state other reasons, it's all over the board. It's inconclusive. Everything from the economy to the environment to their age to the partner's age, it's inconclusive. It's kind of across the board. But the thing that they're saying that is the most consistent is that people just don't want to have kids. Now, to me, I ain't gonna lie, to me that seems a little suspect. Like I would think that and I don't know, maybe more research will be done behind this, because just simply saying I don't want to have kids, like, to me, there seems like there's something behind that. But I mean, this is, I think, just a newer study. So I'll be curious to see if more comes out and they're able to get to a deeper reason as to why this is such a thing. Okay, continue on. We are almost done, and then we will have some conversation, y'all. Okay. So basically, it just continues on. I'm gonna skip over to the bottom. It says about a quarter of parents younger than 40 who don't expect to have more children in the future cite financial reasons, 26%, compared with 8% of those 40 to 49. So basically, younger people are more likely to say they don't want to have kids because they're broke, versus older people. That's the finances are not as much of a reason. It says the younger group is also more likely to mention not having a partner, 6% to 1%, while older parents are more likely to say age is a reason why they don't expect to have more kids, 41% of those 40 to 49, 5% of those younger than 40. So I mean, really in the, like I said, this is all linked. This is all linked in the description. But basically what we are seeing is that people of different generations across the board have decided, for whatever reason, that they just don't want kids. In this study, from what I understand, the majority of people who say they don't want kids is simply because they just don't want it. Like they're just no, of course, like I said, I think there's a bigger, you know, undercurrent. There's a bigger reason behind that. But like I said, this is just one study, and I'll be curious to see if more comes out about that. But again, what's interesting to me is that this is a mindset that both men and women portray. And again, if we think of the maternal nature of women, well, generally speaking, right? The fact that, generally we value relationships, like just the things that used to be considered natural. I mean, there was never really a time, not even that long ago, where it's like if a woman didn't have kids, it was like her worth was questioned, who she was questioned. So now we're in an era now where like not only are kids seen as like not as important to a person's happiness, it's like they're optional. It's like you can have them or you cannot have them, and it's not that big of a deal. And to me, my bigger question to you guys is what has caused that shift? Is this natural? Is this unnatural? And what is that going to mean for the population? Again, I use the example of Vivica Fox, 57-year-old woman, who, although she has said previously that she wanted kids, said that because of career, because of situations, and ultimately because she didn't meet a man who she felt was worth having kids with, she chose not to. And then she also said in the video clip that has since been removed that she just, that she was happy with the 6 godchildren that she had. So although she didn't birth them, she had godchildren, and that filled that maternal void. Maybe. But again, she is just an example of, I think, many women today, people in general, but I'm focusing on women, who are just choosing not to have kids. And I think it's worth talking about because, like I said, this is a growing trend. And I'm like, there has to be a bigger reason behind it. So I'm going to open up the line for a few minutes, and you guys want to call on and share your perspective. I'd love to hear from you. Also, shout out to Casual Observer for the $5 super chat. I see... Okay, Black women are feminists and lead in every alternative to nuclear family. Black men's response to opt out based on consequences. This is not a both issue. Okay, interesting. So I'm going to share just real quick. Anybody wants to call in and share their perspective, why you think folks just ain't wanting to have kids. They're just opting out. They're just like, nope, we're not doing it anymore. So here's a link if anybody wants to call in. And like I said before, this to me it's especially interesting for women when, like, for so long we lived in an era where like our value and our worth, for better or for worse, however you see it, but it was directly measured with our ability to maintain, procreate, raise the next generation. And now that seems like that's just like completely, like, it's just getting less and less. It's being seen less and less as a necessity. And I find that rather odd. I found that interesting, like I said, when for so many hundreds, if not thousands of years, we've been operating a particular way, and then now things are different. So, all right. So it looks like we have a caller. Hey.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going?
It's going good. How you doing?
I'm good. So, what do you think? Why do you think more people, and especially modern women, are choosing to just not have kids? They're just choosing to say no.
I think the simple explanation, in particularly in our community, would be
Mhm.
feminism. Because
Okay.
when you look at what's happening, we're leading in every single alternative to the nuclear family. We're leading in LGBT. We're leading in single motherhood. We're
Fair. Okay.
leading in not having children. If there were another, I guess, metric you could quantify, I think would be leading in probably the next 20 of them.
Oh, well, sorry. I'm sorry. I think you cut out for a second.
Yeah. I was saying if there were another metric that we could quantify, I think we would. If there were other metrics you could quantify, I think we'd be leading in the next 20 before getting to what's normal.
To like 20. Okay, okay. I wonder if we'll be leading in, so maybe sologamy in the next however many years. More people just marry themselves, being like, I'm just forget it.
Probably. I think the men's response is more geared towards. For me, it's not necessarily a both issue because I think it's a unilaterally driven issue, which leads to if you poll for whether or not the two sides want to do to actually have children, then you're going to end
Uh-huh.
up with similar numbers. But if you look at the driving force on side A versus side B, if side A has unilateral control from conception to gestation, all the way to custody, all the way to, I guess, yeah, custody after the child's born. One side is empowered all the way through, and the other side reacts to the power that's disproportionately allocated to the other side. So I wouldn't say that it's a modernization thing. I think it's just a consequence of feminism. So like we don't even have a notion of nuclear families in our community. We have like an 80% rate of single motherhood.
Yeah, that's
So
yeah,
we're
that's a whole nother because I'm like, I mean, that is not having an 80% rate of single motherhood. I don't care how you spin it. That is not the signs of a healthy, thriving community. I mean, I don't care how you spin it. I know there's some people out there are now pushing this idea like, oh, you all you need is one parent, or I grew up with a single parent and I'm okay, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, you're probably not okay. One, two, and what other community do we see that being promoted as something that's ideal? It's not. It can happen, and you can still a person can still be grown up from a single parent and find ways to live a healthy and successful life, but they're going to have to go through more hurdles. There's going to be more things they're going to have to learn. There's going to be more struggles that shouldn't be promoted as the ideal or equivalent, in my humble opinion. So, yeah, like to your
and
point, that being such a high number, that's not the signs of a thriving, healthy culture.
exactly, and that's part of the
Wow.
reason why I find the original proposition, not proposition, the original question kind of interesting because, well, if it's your expectation that you're not even going to be able to see your
Mm-hmm.
children and you're going to be on the hook for child support, then
Yeah,
when you pull
fair.
the question is just kind of a kind of an interesting question to ask if the consequence is 80% you're just going to be on the hook for a child you never see.
Child. Didn't even think of it that way. That's a good point. Well, thank you for calling on. Looks like I have some other callers. I want to be mindful. But
No
yeah, thanks
problem.
for having.
Yeah, I love the show by the way.
Oh,
This is
thank you
great.
so much. Appreciate
No
it.
problem.
All right, you
Good
have a
luck.
good one.
Bye.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm good. So what do you think? I mean, why do you think so many people are opting out, women in particular, are opting out of having kids? What do you think is the reason or the reasons for this?
Well, for the women in particular, we are living in a time where more and more women are becoming more and more career oriented,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them are feeling that you know when they have those careers, they have that feeling of independence. They have that feeling of I can handle my own business or what have you. And from what I'm looking at, they fear that bringing a child, to this world can interfere or put a damper into those that feeling of independence.
Right.
They feel that if they take care of a child, they have to cut out some of these hours and devote more of their lives to that child.
Yeah, they would.
And
Like, there's no way
yeah,
around it.
yeah. Now, from the men's, well, at least from my point of view, I can't speak for all men. I can remember when I was a teenager in high school, and I've seen so many girls around my age at that time, having babies.
Mine too.
And yeah, I've seen so many. And at the time I try to make sure that, you know, I do everything, to avoid being that next father. And I think the top thing to do was you abstain from even having sex at all,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah.
And, and that feeling of, not, wanting children, it starts to grow in me, over time. And now I'm at a point to where, I mean, I'm 51 now, and
Uh-huh.
I'm at a point where, you know, I wouldn't mind having children. And, when they get older, I'm going to be too old really to really take care of it. But, I would not mind having a child just as long, as two things happen. First, I'm married to the woman that I plant that seed in.
Yeah.
And two, that child is biologically mine.
Well, of course.
So,
Right.
yeah, biologically mine. I prefer not to be a stepdad.
Fair,
I
fair.
really prefer not to. But yeah, I mean, men, can have various reasons why they don't want children. Maybe because, like the women, they too now do not want this responsibility.
Right,
Uh,
right.
and the freedom of, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about, you know, the concerns of any child because that child doesn't exist, and things of that nature. So
Right.
it basically comes down to independence.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So you're thinking, women just they're like, look, I'd rather pursue things that are more fulfilling, whether it's career, maybe it's traveling, maybe it's having more experiences. Children would basically tie me down, which really it would. You would have to sacrifice. And then you're saying for men, maybe it's the question of, okay, can I find a woman that I think is going to be worth having kids with, kind of, I'm sure that if I'm pregnant her, it's going to be my baby, you know what I mean? And then someone else mentioned just the fear of just the law, and God forbid that relationship doesn't work out, then now you're likely going to be in a situation where you lose things. So they're both looking at it in different ways, but at the end of the day, both of them are still opting out to not have kids.
Right,
So
right. It's yeah, pretty much, pretty much a situation.
fair,
Yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. Well, thank you for calling on. It looks like I have another call. I want to get to her before it gets
All
too
right.
late. But thanks
Thank
for
you.
hopping on. Okay, you take care.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Hey there.
Hey, hi.
Thanks for hopping on.
Of course. Hi, good evening. I'm just so excited to be like talking to you. I think this space is just so amazing. I just want to call and give you your flowers. You,
Oh, thank you.
Nika, I mean, Crimson Cure, like Simone. I just love you guys because I was looking for a space where I feel like as a Black woman, like we can kind of like congregate and have like-minded ideals. Because, like you said, there is a lot of like the toxic self-hating, like divest, whatever, let them divest, as Danica says. Like let them do their thing. But this is so important. These conversations are so important. Myself, I'm married as well to a Black
Okay.
man, wonderful. And I just want to be around more like-minded married Black women who enjoy being married, enjoy catering to their husbands, letting them be men, and just, uplifting men in every way possible. And I mean,
Right.
yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm just really glad to be here and kind of give you guys your flowers. I mean, I'm just here to support you as a woman because I do know it's a lot of men, like supporting you, but women, we need to support you too. So,
I appreciate you calling in because ultimately my channel, I'm talking to women. You know what I mean? And I've been looking at my little analytics. I've been seeing it coming up slowly but surely. But I know sometimes the truth can be a little bit offensive and some of us haven't heard it. And so at first we're just like shocked. I don't want to take it in. But I
yeah,
appreciate you calling in. People like you, this is the reason I'm doing this because it's like I do want to be able to have healthy and constructive conversations. Sometimes that means that somebody's feelings are going to be hurt. Sometimes that means that we actually have to look at tough conversations, but that's what adults do, and that's how adults grow.
and like that, and my husband is the one who like taught me to be like that. Because I'll be 100% honest.
Mhm.
I was a disciplining problem. I was one of those modern women. Like I was like that when I first met him. I met him at 23. I'm
Okay.
32 now. And he was like, I think because I was so young and impressionable and coachable and all that,
Yes.
that's why, but like he was like, no, like you need to take my leadership. And I was like, I saw that he had his stuff together and I was able to take correction like from him. And just a lot of things that, Danica, especially, I just got off her live and I'm like, the stuff that she talks about is just like, I love that the dynamic of her marriage. Like her husband reminds me so much of mine, just like trying to do his own thing, lay low, like, and just there's no like strife, no toxicity. You just, well, I don't know, like I said, it's just you letting him be a man, letting him be him, and letting him
Be a
guide you,
man.
direct you, lead you, and just if it wasn't for him, like I wouldn't even be like the woman I am today. And I do believe that Black women without men, we cannot elevate. We cannot elevate. We cannot, because only men allow us to grow and develop in that next level. Because I do believe like a lot of women around me are just like stunted in their growth. Like they just
Oh, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head of so many different things. My personal opinion is that, and this isn't going to be every woman, but probably 95% of women who have been born and raised in the West, in this modern culture, they're going to have to be deprogrammed to a certain extent. When it comes to actually getting married, getting with a man, if they want to live traditionally or, really want to embrace what they believe is intrinsically, they're going to have to go through a detox process. It doesn't matter your background, socioeconomic. I mean, I have different friends of mine who came from like, traditional Latino Hispanic families, where like one in particular where, the dad was driving the mom everywhere. They were immigrants. And she talked about how even though she came from a traditional background where gender roles are a lot more established, even she, growing up in America, has had to kind of contend with this like modern ideology as she's now married and having to figure out, man, my parents live this way, but I was taught to live this way. What's right? And so I'm like, just by nature of being out here, it doesn't matter who you are. There's a level of toxicity associated with it because our environment is just so unhealthy on many different fronts.
Absolutely. And I think the deprogramming, like you said, and the relearning, that's a tough thing. It is tough. But I feel like if you want it bad enough, if you want to be under the care and provision of a man who is performing and producing, you have to do that. That's something that, and I just love the conversations you guys are having. And I try to share with like, the single women I know, even my mom. My mom is divorced and she still talks about my dad like he was the man and she's in her 60s. And I'm like, this just shows that the most important choice that you'll ever make in your life is the man that you chose. And you can still see with her, it's still like, and it still stays with her. A man imprints on you and you can't even like live your life because you're still thinking about, oh, I let this one go. And she initiated the divorce, of course, because women, that's what they do. They initiate the divorce. But yeah, so Danica, I would love to be Danica's moderator. Oh my gosh, that'd be like
we can make it
like a dream.
So yeah, yours is Christina, right? I want to make sure I got
Christine. Your name. Yeah, just Christine.
Christine. Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, you were dropping so many bars, and again, I appreciate you hopping on and hearing from you. Like I said, you women like you are the reason that we're doing this. Women who are willing to have open-ended conversations, not get into the shame, insults, and the need to be right. But actually discuss, okay, what's working and what's not working. And we can debate, all we want, what's right or what's wrong. But at the end of the day, people live with themselves and people know based upon their own results and their own life, if what they're getting is good or not good. So, I do appreciate you calling on.
Of course. Have a wonderful night. Good night, everyone.
Take care. All right. Okay, so I have room for like one more call that I'm gonna have to hop off because I actually have dinner planned. So I gotta get that taken care of. But we're going to add. Hey there. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, what's going on? So this is a great discussion once again. I was looking up the word hyper individuality, and so I'm thinking about Vivica A. Fox, and I've brought that up also, what you're bringing up, the fact that I've had this conversation with many people. What does hyper individualism look like when Black women practice it, right? And it's something that's been indoctrinated in many people in the West, but I think it's we're seeing Black women practice it when we see some of the Black women in luxury movement, the swirler movement, the divestment movement, all of that is like, well, what about me? Why can't it just be about me? Why do I have to be selfless? Why do I have to think about the community? Why do I have to think about society? You know, the whole rich auntie thing, right?
So
that
to
that
be
thing.
fair,
Hmm.
and you know what? Shout out to Obsidian.
Hmm.
He actually made this point when he was doing a debate with Omawali a few weeks ago. He made the point that that is a key. That is kind of like a foundational principle of America, right? Individuality, you being able to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and individually make your own success. The issue with that is that this system is not set up for everybody to be successful.
Exactly.
And so, and then for women, you know, where I believe that we are naturally more communal and more relationally based. Now we're put in a situation where we're supposed to compete as if we are men, as if we don't require other women, we don't require other relationships, we don't require that validation to be sustained. Many of us do. You can see that, you can literally see that looking at some of these femininity channels where they're all just kind of saying the same thing, and there's that emotional coddling, or there's that emotional sharing, because that's an aspect of what women do. So you take that relational aspect of us and put us in an environment where we're supposed to pretend we're individualistic, and then I think it creates somewhat of an imbalance.
it
So
it just doesn't work, and you and Obsidian are correct. It just doesn't work in the long run. I think that's why we're witnessing the fallout of wanting to be modern and traditional at the same time, and the conflict with the two.
yeah, it's
And that's a man and woman thing. But because I think we spent the better part of 4 decades not so much critiquing black women because we thought they stood on some moral pedestal above everyone else. Now
no.
we're having the conversation, and it's looking really ugly,
It's not looking,
right?
yeah, it's not looking good. Nobody is above criticism. Nobody is above being able to grow, learn, and evolve. And it's incredibly dangerous when we
Mhm.
demonize some and then pedestalize others, because again, it creates an imbalance.
You
So
know, and I'll end with this. The young lady that called earlier, that was it. I would love to hear more about that story, where her mom initiated the divorce, but now she feels like she let the young lady's husband, the young lady's father go. Right? That's interesting to me. Like, how often do we actually hear? Because we hear about men. If for any man that's ever been in a barbershop, you've always heard at least one or two men that be like, "Damn, I let her go." Right? And I never hear that from women. So, like, do women think every breakup they've ever initiated is like, "Yeah, he deserved it," or "Yeah, like I was better than him,"
oh,
right?
I see it. I just saw one earlier today, and it was like it was one of those cute prayer things where it's like, oh, when you break up with your boyfriend, and then you're happy because God took him away. Like they're trying to make light of something, and I'm like, nobody acts like this. We're creating a video trying to make it seem like it's cute, but behind closed doors, you're bawling your eyes out. You're just trying to pretend that you're trying to pretend. You're trying to convince yourself that you're happy, and you're not. You're actually sad that you left him. Why don't you just say, I'm sad and upset that I left him? That would
What
be a more honest. That would be a more honest response.
Shay, what I would
So,
ask you and the other ladies kind of in this space to look up, and people that have heard me say this before, look up the she economy. If you never looked it up, look up the she economy from Morgan Stanley, right? And they speak about how many women are going to be single within the next decade or so. And it's like these rich, yeah, exactly, right? They're forecasting.
me. Well, and that's why I said that's why low key. And like I
Hmm.
said, I'm not saying I'm no prophet or nothing like that. But low key, I'm
Hmm.
like, I would not be surprised in the next 10, 15 years.
Hmm.
Because the reality is there's certain women out there who just are not going to lower their standards. They're just not going to
Hmm.
do it. So I wouldn't be
Yep.
surprised if there was a certain subset of women who started to promote polygamy. They start to see a certain amount of men having all this money, and they're like, look, it's not fair. We got all these struggle dusties around here. He got plenty of money. He could handle me. And they start really trying to, I wouldn't be surprised, because as the economy continues to progress and it gets
Hmm.
harder and harder to live in a way that's modest or live in a way that is, reasonable. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing women,
I see that coming.
right.
Shout out to there's a guy called PK Angel. Shout out to him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I'm sorry about my background, but no, me and PK have had this conversation where eventually we're gonna see women of means, and excuse my background, I'm under the garage, but
It's okay.
women of means start to say that, and women of no
Oh,
means
yeah.
actually start to say that too. They will advocate, and I don't. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want, but be okay with being wife number 6,
Right. And that's
right?
what I'm saying. And I think personally, I think I did a poll on this. I'd have to go back and look at the results. But I think personally,
Hmm.
if a woman had to go through sharing a billionaire or a trillionaire with a few of the females versus having one old struggle dusty,
Hmm.
and those are their only two choices, like that, or just, buy a dog and die, not even alone, like die on the street because you can't afford anything. I think those women would probably choose sharing a billionaire with other women. And again, I'm not saying that this is a good thing or bad thing. I'm not promoting that, but I'm just saying I would
Exactly.
not be surprised that the way the economy is going, if we started to see a subset of women, push for that, because there's certain ladies out there who are just not willing to lower their standards. They're just not going to do it.
I think that's okay.
They are not going to do it.
Just say it overtly. For me, it's about, let's stop the gender warring and the bashing, and let's just call a thing. Hey, I want this lifestyle. I want this house in this neighborhood with this car and these kids that go to this private school. And if I can't have that, I would rather be single. And the people that say that, the women that say that, I am perfectly okay with that. But the whole black men ain't ish thing,
that's old and tired.
Yeah.
So, well, anyways, I really appreciate this call.
Thank you very much for the conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, have a good night.
You too. Okay, so you guys, I would love to continue this conversation, but I'm actually supposed to be linking up with my dad a little later on tonight, so I want to be mindful that I'm not too late. But anyways, I appreciate all of you guys who have joined me tonight. We'll be having another discussion tomorrow, and I think I'm also going to have a call-in show, so definitely stay tuned. Again, if you like this discussion, feel free to share it. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, tag anybody on this discussion you think is going to find it interesting. And yeah, we'll talk again probably tomorrow. And I'm seeing some, okay, I want to make sure I got this. Also, 80% out of wedlock rate, do they value a provider? Again, always appreciate the love and also always appreciate the support. And again, you can find me, y'all can find me on CASHAPP or VENMO, ChezCharde. We'll talk soon. Bye.